This year, there's big changes at all of the elementary schools in the Anoka-Hennepin School District. Visitors will find the doors locked, and they'll be required to go through an electronic check-in process at each building. I'm here now with Chuck Holden, Chief Operations Officer of the Anoka-Hennepin School District, and Sergeant Kevin Smith of the Coon Rapids Police Department. Chuck, first of all, tell us why the Anoka-Hennepin School District wanted to make these security changes.
Certainly. After the Sandy Hook, Connecticut shooting last winter, it was a real eye-opener for everyone. It was, of course, a horrible tragedy. And the parents in that area and everyone was riveted to the TV, and immediately that impact was felt in Anoka-Hennepin. Our parents, our staff, our teachers, everyone calling, emailing, wondering, how could we prevent something like that happening in Anoka-Hennepin.
Well, we worked together real closely with Anoka-Hennepin and Chuck specifically. He called me right after Sandy Hook and said, what can we do? How can we work together to make things better for the schools, for the staff, for the children, for everybody? So we came up with a plan, this is what we're looking for, this is what we would like. Anoka-Hennepin said this is what we would like, let's work together and work something out. We, of course, adapted our training, just like we did after Columbine, to change things, and we had to implement a lot of the things that they were doing into our training so we could work together a little bit better.
Crisis plans have been in place for years in Anoka-Hennepin since the Columbine shooting in 1999. But there wasn't much emphasis on elementary schools, places designed to be more open and accessible.
We really hadn't focused on elementary schools because it was just out of the realm of possibilities that someone could do and that would be thinking about doing children that kind of harm in an elementary school. So we really had to rethink looking at our buildings as soft targets, which is what they've been. Very accessible. By design, elementary schools are very accessible. We want parents to come in and have lunch with their children. We want grandpa and grandma to come in and read to the first graders. We want all those things to happen.
Those activities will still occur, but now they'll happen under the careful watch of a new security system that monitors each visitor at the door.
Good morning. How can I help you?
So our intent to increase perimeter security was to move the clipboard in the office out to the vestibule. We added doors in the entryway, and we added a reading system and a camera system, similar to if you think of a apartment building, where you come in and people will grant you access. But in addition to that, we have a card reader that will read my identification, my driver's license, or any ID from any state in the country. And we will track that information on a database. So when all of that process is done and our secretary sees who I am and looks at my driver's license information, she'll print a badge, and then I'll be granted access into the building.
The new system keeps track of all visitors in the building, and if the swipe of the person's driver's license or ID shows a problem, staff members are alerted through the system.
We're putting our staff through training, and we've done that this week and last week so that they know how to react to that. It may be holding the person here until the principal's able to talk to them. It may involve law enforcement, but they have the ability by just scanning that information and tying it into our database to know who's out here.
Now that we've seen how the system works, tell us about the cost and how you were able to put all of these things in place for this school year.
Sure. We, after talking with our staff, with our parents, and listening to all the concerns, getting the advice of Kevin, Coon Rapids PD, and all of the law enforcement agencies, we developed this plan and presented it to the school board, and they authorized this actually in February of this year. Essentially what we did was just reprioritize our capital expenditures. So the millions of dollars that we have in reserve to replace carpets, old windows, maybe lights, we've reallocated, reprioritized the exterior safety of schools, and we budgeted about $1.4 million for all the projects, all 27 buildings. And it's carpeting that will have to last a few more years in some of the buildings, but it is a renewable resource to the district. It's not a general fund impact, it's just our typical capital expenditures for replacing things that wear out. So we're using existing funds. We think we're doing it very cost effective, but it was a very fast timeline to actually get the approval from the board in February and have installation completed in August is very quick. So just hats off to our buildings and grounds staff, our technology staff that did the training with our secretaries, and our contractors that work closely with us to get the job done.
It does sound like a tight turnaround,
Yeah.
especially since it's all going to be up and ready here in September.
For the first day of school. Yeah.
Sergeant Smith, how do you think these changes will help keep the school community safer, especially in the elementary schools?
You bet. You always want to make yourself the hardest target you can be. He talked about, you know, the elementary schools were a soft target, and they were a soft target, very inviting for people, but unfortunately, as we saw in Sandy Hook, inviting for bad people too. So you're making yourself a harder target. People know that. They go to the soft areas. They don't go to the hard areas. But it also is going to give a little bit of security, I hope, for students, families, staff, everybody involved to know that they're a little bit safer when they come here. We're training a little bit harder and to adjust to this, and we're going to be better prepared for if anything will happen.
We thank you for showing us around today.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks, Steph.